Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast,
your go-to destination for a unique blend of recovery and discovery.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Mark. And in this podcast, we will endeavor to create a safe and uplifting space for our guests and listeners to share their stories with sincerity and a touch of humor.
Remember, we are not a Glum Lot. The Glum Lot Podcast is more than just a source of entertainment. It's a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest moments, recovery is possible. Every story we share carries the power to inspire positive change.
So buckle up, get ready to listen, and join us in discovering the strength that lies within every individual's journey. This is the Glum Lot Podcast, where humor meets hope.
All right, Mr. Brett, welcome to episode number 72 of the Glum Lot Podcast.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, good to have you here.
Well, that's nice.
Good to have me here.
It is.
Yeah. And we want to remind our listeners to go ahead and subscribe and join the Facebook group and email us and love us and show us great gratitude and all that bullshit.
Yes.
So anyways, what's on your mind today?
What's on my mind today, I've always wondered why it's so important that we have to say, I'm Brett and I'm an alcoholic.
Uh-huh.
Like, why
I don't say that.
Well, you don't?
No, I say I'm Mark. I'm an alcoholic.
Let's see what he did there.
If I said I'm Brett, it would be weird.
Ay. So I've been reading a book lately, and I saw something in there that kind of really made it hit home for me why we do that. And it is all about the humility. You know, I know that when I started working this program and I started getting a grasp on it, I felt a little superior. Just saying. Mm-hmm. You know, I felt like I had reached a point above other people, and we shouldn't be doing that because that's feeding our ego, and that's just leading us to direct other people and look at me and all that. And I know that's what got me to drinking prior. So when we say we're an alcoholic, it's kind of like a grounding thing, right? An alcoholic it has that connotation that we don't have a whole lot, and we've got some problems. And so that was pretty interesting to me.
I also think it's a restatement of our first step.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm an alcoholic. Well, what does that mean? It means I have a disease that I'm powerless over alcohol.
And I'm just like all the other alcoholics, no matter what.
And the difference is we're trying to do something about it one day at a time. So.
Correct. So it was just something interesting that I saw. I never really thought about it.
Another thing is you say your name.
Yeah.
And then people know your name.
Mm.
And when I first came in, I was a little put off by the, my name's Mark. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Mark. I'm like, fucking culty.
Yeah. Right.
But now I kind of like it,
Oh, I definitely like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know my name.
Yeah.
So anyways, just something I thought was pretty interesting that I really never gave any thought to. So I'm an alcoholic, and so are you.
And we have another alcoholic with us as a guest today, so it works out. His name is Dave.
Dave.
Welcome to the podcast, Dave.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And so what's your sobriety date?
September 18th, 2023.
Okay, wow. Okay, so you just crossed the year mark.
I'm a newbie.
That's fantastic.
At age
I wouldn't
70.
say so.
Yeah, a year's good.
A year's really good.
That's not a lot of people reach that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd like to start at the beginning, your first experience with drugs and or alcohol, and start from there.
Okay.
What was your situation?
All the details.
Okay, you'll get all the details. I won't hold anything back.
Okay.
This is going to shock people, but my first drink was at age 3.
Oh, okay.
And,
Say what? 3?
Yeah, age 3. I was kind of a restless kid, kind of unsettled, and always felt like I was on a journey someplace, either to escape or just move beyond. And I think that comes back to the fact that my parents, they had just lost a child just before I was born, so they were kind of distant, and naturally you pick up cues like that.
Sure. So was there like some expectations after that were on you, that they had their hopes and dreams in the prior born maybe?
Yes, I think that's definitely the case because they really pushed me to succeed in school and beyond.
Did you feel that when you were a little kid, though?
Yes.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I was very introverted and shy, and that experience kind of, had experience with depression.
That'd be pretty strong to remember that at 3. I'll tell you, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so how did the drink come about?
Yeah.
Well, my dad was sitting there one day because wondering what to do with me because I'd been I'd been in the police station probably 4 or 5 times by the age of 6. Some of those experiences happened later because I was always running away. And,
So you'd run away, the cops would bring you home?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one of those trips I ended
And
up
was this in a city? Was this out there? Where were you running to?
This was in the Adirondacks.
Oh, way northern New
You were
York.
out in the mountains.
One of my experiences was I just walked on the railroad tracks because I thought I was going to go to New York City. And they ended up stopping the train because I was out there in the trestle in the middle of a lake.
Out on the bridge?
On the bridge. So, yeah.
Wow.
So,
You
anyway.
were just pondering life
Yeah,
at 3 years
it
old.
must have been. Trying to escape, trying to...
Did you have the drink then?
Well, my dad didn't know what to do with me.
Yeah.
My parents were, oh my God, what have we raised here? Potential escape artists in the circus or, someone working for the CIA.
Right.
So one day he just sat down and he said, he was having a beer. And of all things, he was having, what the heck's the name of it? Ballantine Ale.
It's old school.
Bitter, hoppy stuff. And I loved
That would have been really popular today.
Yeah, and I loved it. But that didn't really, my alcoholism didn't really come along to much later in the life. But certainly my early life experiences set the stage for a lot of that.
Do you remember having any kind of effect from it?
No, it was just a small sip.
Oh, okay.
And periodically I'd have a couple with them, but it was never anything.
Not till you're at least 4.
Oh, no.
Right, you waited.
Yeah, you wait till at least 4. Anyways.
Yeah. And I could have a beer at home and like in high school, just, casually.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Enough to catch a buzz?
Not really, no.
Okay.
No, I never got that far.
Do you remember your first buzz?
Oh, yeah. That was, I think I was 12 or 13. We got a friend of mine got his older brother to buy us a 6-pack of Genesee.
Those older
And
brothers. Yeah.
Yum.
we kept
I love that.
we kept it in the spring up on top of the mountain right near my house.
Oh, you kept it cold.
Oh,
right?
yeah, kept it cold.
And it was
yeah.
truly a mountain spring.
Oh, it was. And,
Yeah.
got a good buzz.
Do you remember the way you felt about?
Oh, I felt great. I mean, this is wonderful.
Well,
so
what's
it hit
great?
you and
Yeah, what's great?
Well, the feeling of just the lightheadedness, the feeling of, I don't know, it's kind of a calmness. Escape, yeah, of course.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe a way of dulling pain.
Mm-hmm. Were you a kid that had like a nervous or anxiety
Yes,
or any of
big
that
time.
stuff? Yeah, didn't feel comfortable in your own skin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and alcohol really is good for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is.
It was
It's-
indeed.
Yeah, you're in good company
yeah.
right here.
And I'm only now starting to feel comfortable in my skin after my year sobriety. So.
So where did you go from there? From the 12, 13-year-old having a 6-pack?
Well, I went to college, and my first semester, freshman year, was a disaster.
Because of drinking?
Because of drinking. And I eventually settled down, and for whatever reason, I was able to channel a lot of that angst into academic success and later career success. So,
Exactly what Mom and Dad wanted.
yes, that's true. Yeah.
At any point during that college time, did it occur to you that alcohol may be a problem for you, or no? Just seemed very natural.
Everyone else was doing it, so
Yeah.
I felt like it was, in the crowd.
Any drugs in there? Any smoking dope or any
Oh,
of
yeah,
that?
a couple of times.
Yeah.
Actually, quite a few times. And,
A couple times a day.
not that often. Usually on weekends. 'cause
Any other drugs?
Yeah, I did acid once when we were watching the Northern Lights. That was
Yeah,
pretty
that's a
cool.
good one to do. I
Yeah.
think. Well,
I mean, there was no Northern Lights out, but
We saw him.
it was the parking lot light
Yeah, I saw Jimi Hendrix playing guitar one night.
in the middle
Yeah.
of the Northern
In the
Lights.
middle of the Northern
like, dude,
Lights.
he's dead and he's still going, man. That's crazy.
And Jesus was on bass. It was pretty amazing.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Quite a band. Yeah.
I'll say.
So where do you go from there?
Well,
So you got through college?
yeah, I got through college, did well. Got a teaching job, taught high school for 4 or 5 years, and
Oh.
went back to school and concentrated on academics again, and got a dream job, and which became my alter ego. It was my self-esteem because I was able to channel some of that stuff.
Sure.
So I became basically, someone different from my own personality because I tend to be very shy and introverted. But this
esteem gave you a little something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was, it's an escape. It was a mask. It's an alter ego. And, and I felt like I was living on a knife edge, It was, because it was just precarious balance. And I was able to turn that off when I'd come home. But, during the day, I was this, staunch, unflappable, competent, confident guy. When I get home, it's like I'm back to being my own insecure little self.
Back to the railroad tracks.
Back to the railroad tracks. Thank you.
So any relations up at this point? Relationships. I'm not looking for the relationships.
Well, a lot of girlfriends in college.
Maybe I am.
A few girlfriends in college. 2 marriages, which didn't last. And about 35 years ago, I met my dream girl, and I married her. So we've been together ever since.
Those first 2 marriages, did they fall apart as a result of drinking or alcoholic behavior at all?
No, my first marriage was because I married a succubus, and she was just very, very difficult. The second marriage, I think alcohol had more to do with it because I was very moody and angry.
Okay. But at the time, it didn't occur to you that alcohol may be a problem?
No.
Okay.
No, that didn't.
And how old are you at this point?
I just turned 70.
No, I mean back then.
Oh, back then.
By the way, he's 114 now.
Jeez,
let's see. First time I got married was 26.
Okay.
Second time was in my 30s.
Okay. So you get out of the second marriage and you're, 30-something?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're still drinking?
Yeah, but it wasn't...
Not crazy?
No, not
Were
crazy.
there other problems, though? Were things coming out that were, I guess, an issue for those people? I know the first one you said was kind of, that was rough as far as from her, but were you getting any feedback from people on your behaviors other than?
Well, I had always struggled with severe depression and anxiety, but nothing related to alcohol until later in life.
Okay.
Was that severe depression and anxiety, was that like medically diagnosed or just looking?
Yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get treatment for that at all?
Yeah. I've been in therapy for a few years now.
Yeah. Did that work? I mean, no. So, but are you talking back when you were going through these first 2 marriages?
Oh, I did. There was, therapy was just not available. Really,
it was a different time.
Oh yeah,
I know that. Yeah.
So it really, my third wife encouraged me to get therapy.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for 30-some years, and I recently found about 5 years ago this wonderful therapist who's really turned things around. And she herself was in AA and encouraged me to do this. So it
Nice. A lot of times in life, especially coming from the generation that you and I did, you're a guy, you deal with it.
Yeah.
You're
That's
not
right.
going to, this is the way it is, and a lot of guys deal with it with alcohol.
Yeah.
My father did.
Well, especially this guy that is like a master of his field, right, and has this esteem. You certainly don't want to tell anybody or let it be led on to that you have some mental health issues.
No
right?
one ever saw that.
Right.
No one ever saw
Well,
that.
we're very good at hiding it.
Except for
we are.
you.
And, luckily, things have changed somewhat in that there's more help available and it's not as taboo
Stigma.
as it once
Right.
was.
Right. I mean,
Suck it up, you're a man. That's, that was the attitude that I was raised with. And
Well, I think men have a more difficult time in life because of all that. Get rid of that
macho
you gotta
exterior.
Be macho,
Right, instead of being realistic,
Right.
So you go along, you meet this love of your life, and you marry her.
Yeah.
What happens from there?
Well, again, that's when I really started getting into therapy and doing the meds stuff. But the funny thing is, about 5 years before I got ready to retire, I started thinking, I said, oh, my God, this is all going to go away. And this confident, competent alter ego is going to die. And I kind of looked at my life as it's like I'm living in a junkyard with all this stuff that I've dragged along with me, or living in the dark woods that you're trying to navigate through. So eventually, my alcohol consumption really ramped up before retirement.
Why do you think?
Well, it's the realization that that I'm going to have to face dealing with all that junk.
And you can't hide it behind maybe the professional career
Oh,
anymore.
no, because that was gone.
Yeah.
That was gone. So alcohol consumption went up. My weight went up. And
I know that.
started to drink a lot more than I ordinarily did. A couple of times my wife said, I think you're drinking a lot. So I said, all right, I'll cut back. And I did.
What was your drink of choice?
Two things.
Yes.
Speyside malts.
Speyside malt.
Speysides. It's a region of Scotland where they make
Oh.
Oh, is this Scotch?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Speysides.
I'm a Scotch. I was a Scotch.
Smoky Pete?
No, not
No.
smoky.
Okay.
Did you have your pinky out when you drank it?
Pardon me?
Did you have your pinky out when you drank it?
No.
Oh.
And I loved IPAs. Yeah. and that
Yeah,
was-
I got you
yeah,
on that
boy,
one.
Oh boy.
I did too. The higher the BT.
That's right.
What was it? IBUs, International
Yeah.
Bitterness Units. Yeah.
My wife and I went out to our favorite restaurant in town, and ordinarily when I'd go there, I'd down about 4 or 5 beers with
Yeah.
dinner. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, right. No more of that.
No more of that, thank God.
So you are kind of spiraling at
Yeah,
this point when you're about
absolutely.
to retire, right? Your drinking increases.
Yeah.
And you're legitimately worried
Yeah, the anxiety.
Yeah.
about what's going to happen. right?
Exactly.
Which causes the depression.
And you're projecting this to be bad.
Yes.
Like, what am I going to do? Who am I going to lose my identity?
Well, yeah, and essentially I did because that other guy went away. And, I was just thinking about this. I miss him sometimes because he would be so good at being able to talk at meetings where my regular self is not,
That's so interesting. There, you were living like a double life. It's
Yeah,
like there's two
it's
different
true.
people. Did your wife know the guy at work, or was that just
yeah,
okay? So she knew.
She knew. She's seen me in action.
Did she ever mention it? Like, boy, you're like two different people.
Yes.
Oh,
my God,
Absolutely.
that's so crazy. I've never heard that before on this show.
yeah.
And so, the other guy. But it wasn't like a Jekyll and Hyde alcohol thing. It was
No.
just a personality thing.
It was
right?
like an alter ego.
Yeah.
And I was able to leave that at work. So I come home and just be miserable me and start,
Then you come into work. Hey.
Yeah. But, even though I was drinking more while I was still working, it never interfered with my
Work.
job. Never. I never came to work hungover or anything like that. So, I faced the realization, like, man, what am I going to do? And that's where I found this new therapist and really started working on, the pain and anxiety and the sources of it. And
How long ago was this?
it was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so
So
it's
you
been
had some
recent.
years of,
Years of
yeah.
being lost.
It's interesting that the turn of events made you have to face that,
Yeah.
and that you sought help for it.
Yeah.
And you found it.
It was damn scary.
Yeah.
It's damn scary because I was not comfortable in my own skin. I've got to either change, and look at some of this stuff that I've dragged along in my life.
Yeah, it's not like you can go and talk about what was your profession?
I was a biologist.
Oh, a biologist. So
Yeah.
you can't go to talk to the therapist only about biology.
Oh,
anymore,
no.
Right?
This is deep.
The stuff you were comfortable talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, when the therapy for me, I was perfectly honest and upfront. I never hid anything because it was, it was there to help.
Jeez.
So you didn't go in there and bullshit anybody.
Oh, no.
That's
Oh,
good.
No. This was serious. I mean,
Yeah.
I said, this is the rest of my life, and I've got to get things together because I cannot go on like this. I don't want to live the rest of my life like this.
Okay, so you go to this therapist, and you discuss your alcoholism? Well, it wasn't even alcoholism at that point, right?
No,
it was
no.
just you were
but
drinking.
Eventually, that conversation began, and she said, "Well, tell me about your drinking habits." And I told her, said, "Oh boy, you gotta think about it."
Wow, you were even open about that at first?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Well,
Not me. 1 to 2 drinks a week socially.
no. So
So you start discussing this alcohol use, and what is her recommendation?
she said, "Go to AA." I went.
Did you feel like you were an alcoholic?
The first time I went to AA, I could never admit that I was an alcoholic. All I would admit to is I didn't drink today. And the first time I went through, I did not drink. It was like 9 months, and I figured I was smart enough that I could get through the book on my own. I didn't get a sponsor, and, I went back out and stayed sober for another couple of weeks, and, again, eventually started drinking. But the thing is, even going to AA the first time, I didn't drink as much as I did before.
So it changed you.
It did.
There was some psychic change.
Oh, there was.
Maybe you didn't put the drink down all the way.
Well, I just, again, it was the shyness, and I didn't really trust people very much. But then as things progressed, I recognized I definitely have a problem, and I need to
right. And so as your awareness increased of what alcoholism was, you started seeing, oh, my God, I'm doing that.
Patterns.
Now,
Yeah.
you were the only one that started seeing this happen?
Well, other than that, my wife said, I think you're drinking too much.
Yeah. Were there any circumstances that would make her really start to say, Dave, come on?
Well, I was one of these guys with a lampshade over my head at parties and family functions. So, and a couple of times I did some crazy, crazy stuff. And, you got to ramp this down a little bit.
Right. Any drunk driving? Nothing like that?
Nothing like that. No.
See, when I came in, it was a while ago, but the old timers were like, "Oh, you're a high bottom drunk. You've never been arrested. You've never,
me too.
Lost a marriage. You've never blah 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 blah." And it really kind of made me question:
was I an alcoholic?
Yeah,
am I alcoholic enough to hang out with these guys?
Yeah. Well, you know what? So I went out 6 times in my first 6 months. So I made it pretty clear that I couldn't stop on my own.
Yeah.
And since the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, I knew I was in the right place.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed that really drove the point home was, was the fact that I couldn't stop once I had a drink.
Right.
That
there it
behavior
is.
changed. And, whereas I, have a couple of beers at home, it would gradually be a 12-pack. And I told you this story at one meeting where we're sitting out by the fire ring. My wife went inside to go to bed, and I went in the refrigerator and got more beer. And I fell asleep out there only to find raccoons were going through my beer cans. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning.
You had
so
new fuzzy friends around
Yeah,
you.
so I think, this has got to stop.
Imagine that, waking up and seeing a whole bunch of raccoons.
Oh, yeah, I did a barrel roll out of my gravity chair to get inside.
They're after me.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So you it sounds like you go to this therapist and you something is revealed to you.
Oh, yeah.
About your situation. You go to AA and you're still going to the therapist while you're going to AA.
Yes.
So do you report back to her?
Yeah, because she's interested. She's been through the steps.
So she's an AA.
Yeah.
So she gets it, man.
Yeah, she gets it.
And you
lucked
start
out.
talking to her about you going to meetings.
Yeah, I was damn lucky.
Yeah, it sounds like
which
a
is amazing.
great, matchup of the situations there where you really got somebody who knows the way.
Well, that's true. And I think the comment that she made to me the other day when I last saw her is that the fact that never go to a therapist that hasn't been through therapy.
I like that because, man, I went through at least a dozen of them.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah,
At least.
I mean, I was very lucky. The first one I went to seriously was perfect for me.
Wow.
And I got everything I needed from this guy, and he was not a pushover. He was like in your face.
Absolutely.
And, sometimes I would go in and he would just sit there and across from me and just stare in my eyes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'd become uncomfortable. I'm like, what are we doing here? And he'd go, you tell me. I'm like, you're the therapist. He goes, well, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. He goes, well, I don't know. You tell me. And eventually I would say, well, I've been feeling kind of,
Yeah. Well, you need a therapist that's going to call you on your bullshit.
Definitely, yeah, because a lot of people go into therapy at the suggestion of other people,
Yep.
and they're just going to bullshit
And
their
I
way
would
through it.
manipulate
This
them
was-
the whole nine.
This is entirely my decision.
That's great. So you were invested in this, and
I wanted to get well.
boy, that's where you get results.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And they talk about honesty, openness, and willingness in AA, and that's true. But it's also true in other things in life. And,
Right.
Probably most things in life, really. And therapy is another one, too.
Yeah.
Is you're wasting your time and money if you're not going to be honest, open, and willing,
Right.
and teachable.
Well, and I think that's the struggle that I have at meetings sometimes, where someone will bring up a topic that is just a trigger point for me, and I'll have to talk. And being honest and being real, and I admit it, I'm a sensitive guy, and I often get very emotional when I'm speaking, and it kind of bugs me a little bit sometimes, but it's therapy.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, from a guy who's not sensitive at meetings or emotional, I fucking love it when people are like that.
Well, good, because
I
I'm
do.
the one that
Good.
keeps you happy.
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, no, I really get a lot of, because I can't do that.
Oh, man.
I'm not able to.
For
the
that-
only time I ever did it was when I came back the last time, and I just fucking. I was a complete mess, but.
For the first year and a half, almost 2 years, every time I would share, I'd get choked up.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Everybody just knew it was coming.
Well, one of the things I've been working on with my therapist is the fact that there's a lot of strength in being vulnerable,
Hell yeah.
and I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
So I'm not ashamed of who I am, but it's just
Uncomfortable.
a little uncomfortable. Yeah. So,
Yeah, definitely.
Well, if you're going to be open and emotional, a meeting's a great place to do it.
yeah. Yeah, it is.
A lot of people will get a lot out of it, and I know I do. A lot of times somebody will start talking, and you're in an hour-long meeting, and you go to a lot of meetings, a few a week, and people are talking. You're like, da-da-da-da, kind of in your head, and then all of a sudden there's silence,
Yeah.
and you look over and you'll see the person's bottom lip start quivering, and you're like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is going to be serious.
Yeah.
And then it is,
Yeah.
and that's what moves people.
And it changes the whole
It does.
atmosphere in the room.
And you say this is not only coming from the person, what they're thinking, this is coming from the heart and from
Yeah.
the gut.
Yeah.
And Brett talks about being an empath, and I think everybody in AA is kind of to some degree has that. And when somebody gets like emotional, we feel it.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to hear the message, but it's a whole other thing to feel the message.
Yes.
And we do get that, and it's something.
It doesn't occur anywhere else either, really.
No.
Now, I'm curious. You said you started in AA prior, and you spent 9 months not drinking at all.
Right.
But you weren't attending meetings during that whole
I was
time.
attending meetings
For 9 months.
for 9 months.
Okay.
But no steps, no sponsor.
sponsor.
Book work.
Did
So
you
I
read
mean-
Did you read the book at all or no?
I looked through it. I said these are some good ideas.
He looked at the white spots.
Yeah, yeah, and I thought, this is very good. This would be very helpful.
practical.
And maybe at some point in time I'll read it through.
But you didn't believe you were an alcoholic at that point.
No, I thought there might have been a problem, but I didn't see it as full blown alcoholism at the time.
I see. How were you feeling during that whole time? Especially towards the end
Isolated.
of that night. Okay.
Isolated, but I did pick up on this vibe when people were sharing at meetings. I thinking, this is, in a sense, this is kind of beautiful. See people that have been through hell.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to get better, and they're struggling, and they're being real at meetings, and it really, really impressed me. So, and I think that's why after I left AA for the first time, a lot of that stayed with me. But, I started drinking again, and again, not drinking as much, but...
So how long were you not drinking or drinking a little before you came back?
Well, I stopped drinking for 9 months.
Okay.
Then I went another 2 months without drinking, and then I started, I can have a beer every now and then.
Oh, okay. I got you.
It just grew from there.
I got you.
Did you share this with a therapist?
Yes.
And what was her take on it? Just curious.
I think there was some concern on her part, but I kept on, I really don't think I'm an alcoholic. I think,
it's not up to her to decide if you are or not.
No,
That's
it's
right.
not.
And
I said,
if she's a good therapist, she probably figures, he's going to figure this out.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, and I
himself.
think that's what happened
And that's
eventually.
the whole thing about therapy is, people think that you're going to go there and they're going to give you the answers.
Oh, no.
And they don't.
No.
All they do is facilitate your thinking and bounce some things off of you and confront you.
Right.
And it's up to you to figure it out.
Yeah.
And if they're good and you're willing, you usually figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's usually a little painful, but kind of goes with the territory.
Yeah.
So you're out, you're having a couple drinks. Did that start to increase?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And at what point did it get to the point where you were like, holy shit, I better go back?
I think that was September 16th of 23. My wife and I have a really good relationship. We can always talk. When we argue, it's just quiet arguing. There's no yelling or screaming. But I was out drinking, and I was kind of celebrating after my 50th high school reunion, and I was just feeling great and making all these Facebook connections. And this is during the day, and I'm shit-faced. And she came up and really got on me, and I just got furious. I screamed at her for the first time in the 30-some years. And she said, you have a bad temper, but this is the very first time that I've known you that you scared me. And that was it right there.
So that was a wake-up call for you?
Yeah, it
You're
was.
Like, holy shit, this isn't who I want to be.
No. So, and I started.
You were shook, because I remember meeting you when you first came in the room.
Yeah, I was shook. I said, man, if I lose my wife.
Yeah, and that was one of the first things, because we had spoken the first time you would come in, and when you came back, there was definitely a change, way more humble, right?
Yeah.
Like you were about to lose something, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you recommitted yourself to the program.
Absolutely.
And you decided to do it right this time.
That's right.
So did you get a sponsor pretty quick?
Fairly quick, yeah.
Was the sponsor any good?
Shut up.
Actually, I met my sponsor.
The sponsor was Brett. For the listener.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
now I feel like I got to leave the room because I'm embarrassed.
There was a connection that we made when I first went in, because I saw this very sensitive man. I said, man, that's me.
That's the guy for you, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to make that connection with a sponsor.
You do.
You can't pick someone.
And I got to say this too: is if you're new in the program and you pick a sponsor and you find out there's not a connection, it's not a bad thing to say, "Hey, this isn't personal. I'm just not feeling a really solid connection. I've got somebody else I want to try." Believe me, that person's going to go. They're going to know.
If they're worth a tinker's dam, they'll know.
Yeah, and they're going to say,
fine.
"Good, you should."
Yeah.
I've had people ask me to sponsor them before too, and they didn't call, and there was just not a great connection, and they kind of just float off, and that's fine. But there's other people that you immediately hook up with that you start work, and they're into it, and they call you, and you call them, and you become friends, and so the thing about it is, don't feel bad because you're changing sponsors. This is a life and death thing. It would be like if you go to a doctor and it turns out the guy's full of shit. You got to say, I'm finding another doctor.
And he's not a doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, just not even a doctor, right? I mean, if you're finding somebody in the program that's never really been through the program, they'll better run.
Right, and there are a lot of people that say, well, this guy was sponsoring, but he wasn't really into the steps. I'm like, well, he wasn't your sponsor. He wasn't really into the steps. What the fuck was he into?
Yeah.
But it does happen.
Your life is
it
what
does
usually
happen,
is.
yeah. So don't be afraid to make the move, you know. So.
Well, I'm not thinking that yet.
No, okay, all right. Hold off. You're still withholding judgment?
Yeah.
No. So you found a sponsor.
Yes.
And you started the steps?
Yeah, I took this very seriously because this is going to define the rest of my life. This is saving my life. This is getting rid of all that junk that I've been dragging around with. And, I look at, I had kind of an epiphany that addiction is a way of covering up pain, but getting through addiction is a way of uncovering it and really addressing it. And that's why step 4 was just magical for me.
Was there anything you struggled with prior to that?
What do you mean?
As far as step 1, 2, and 3?
No, that was pretty intuitive. I mean, that was, I did have a problem. And, one of the things I did struggle with was this higher power concept because I'd been...
I know that was a leading question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But, I'd been to church when I was a kid, and I come from a long line of very devout Protestants, and, man, I just can't do it. But I did notice when I came back the second time, I mean, there is something in those rooms. There's something spiritual, magical, So maybe that's my higher power. So
You were really taken by that.
yes, I was.
In the rooms all the time, you'd say, "I just can't get over these people." Like,
Yeah, they're amazing.
and they're all different flavors too,
Yeah.
right? And all these people that you normally wouldn't interact with, and they're just so wise, you'd say, and they're
Yeah.
just so real, and
Yeah.
it was really cool to see.
Yeah, and so I was even after then. I said I got to find this higher power. I'm not sure if it's what's in this room, but and I think it found me twice. I mean, my brother had cancer surgery, so I up in the Adirondacks, and I left the hospital, went back out on my favorite vista up there, where I saw the mountain ranges and the sunlight peeking through the clouds, and it's just gorgeous. And that was it. It was almost like this little subliminal message: "Welcome, I see you."
Yeah.
And a similar thing when I was up in Nova Scotia, where my parents are from, just watching these giant tides come in and out. It's just, that's whatever concept of God that you have, maybe, a creator of sort. You're seeing that machinery in action, and, there's much more to life than our own lives. So, yeah.
Something greater than yourself.
Yeah.
I think it was very profound what you said earlier about addiction covers up problems, and then when you get sober, they're revealed, because I know for myself, and I think for a vast majority of people in AA, we come in thinking that alcohol is the problem.
Right.
And it is the problem
It's a
immediately. But once that symptom is removed, then the real work begins.
Right.
Otherwise, we wouldn't need the steps.
That's right.
But some people come in and they're like, well, I'm not drinking. That's enough. Well, I don't know how serene your life is going to be or how long it's going to last if you don't have that psychic change. Right. And, that's what the steps are for. And, a lot of people just don't do that. They don't do the work.
Right. And so you said that step 4, that's starting to uncover those things.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
I've been working on stuff like that with a therapist, but actually to write this stuff down and visualize it and share it with another person, that's a very powerful thing. And to me, that's one of the big stumbling blocks that a lot of people when they're working on the steps.
Yeah, definitely. And, one thing that I noticed with Dave was he was entirely ready to let it all out. And he did a very thorough job, too.
I typed it up.
Yeah, it was all word processed and
Nice.
everything, right? And so, a lot of the common themes that we have, right? Fear,
Right.
resentments.
Yeah, when you get to the exact nature of these problems, they are not unique.
No.
But until they are uncovered, isolated, and light is shined on them, they're going to keep existing.
They rule us.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, that's hard to face.
Yeah.
And then 6 and 7, you have to actually start doing something.
Yeah.
And now I got to try to change these things.
Yeah.
And I've always said that the steps, you don't take the steps, you practice the steps. And as you go through time and you practice the 6 and 7, over and over again, I'm ready again to have this defect removed, and you experience it again.
Right.
And you're like, now I'm really ready.
And I mean it.
Yeah. But if you do make progress, and it's not perfection. It's not. It's never going to be, but it is progress, and that progress is great.
My life is an order of magnitude better since I've.
And other people notice it. What does your wife say?
She said, "Yeah." She's made the remark to me many times, as have her daughters. What's going on with Dave? He's just so much happier and more content than he ever was.
A little serenity in your life, right?
Yeah.
Understanding.
Yeah. Compassion.
And play a place to go where, like you say, there's something about it.
Yeah.
You know?
I made the joke the other night when I was talking about turning into a snowflake, because I'm starting to notice
Yes.
the rose
I was
bush,
there when you said that.
The rose bush out in front of my house, for example. You come home after a few traffic incidents, pull in the driveway, and there's that nice rose bush, 2 of them right in the front yard, and I think, I gotta bury that.
Yeah, but you've walked past that before how many times, and now you actually stopped to
And you
look.
know what? There's nothing like a gruff, older dude saying these. Like, snowflake is a name they use now, but just these little signs of I don't want to call it weakness, but surrender.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit, it's changed this guy. It's changed his outlook.
Yeah.
I want to do that, And I remember when I first came into AA, there was all these dudes that had been to jail. There was all these bikers.
Yeah.
And they would share, and I'd be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What is this?
I am so surprised.
Are they in disguise?
Yeah, I know. I was like, what happened to these people?
Yeah.
They're so just in touch emotionally, and it's just beautiful, man,
Yeah.
And I remember hearing all the complaints of those people that you just referenced saying that how much he's changed, right?
Yeah.
That's what's striking to me, not to give away any of your story, but when you say the people that are asking, wow, what's changed in Dave? Those were the ones that you were kind of at odds with a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And even your brother, right? And I think that was a big turning point as well,
one,
right? Because you had a lot of resentment towards him at first.
Yeah. I resented him because he was an alcoholic.
Isn't that interesting?
And this is when I was in my 20s, and he was living at home and several DWIs, and I just, how can he embarrass the family like this? And just judged him so unfairly. And he stopped drinking. It wasn't with AA.
He just stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my brother did.
Yeah.
He got into a situation that he was very unhappy with himself about, and he was young. I think he was maybe 19 or 20. He never drank again.
Yeah.
I was like, how the fuck do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. That's magical. I've asked him about that. He just said, I just didn't want to drink anymore.
Well, I think he had a spiritual awakening, right?
Maybe.
Or something, a psychic change or that they talk about.
I think it was right after my mother died.
But what I find so interesting is the result of these steps, right? Your complete change in your view of that, right? Now you're able to go and help your brother when he's in need, right? And it's amazing how that was put in front of you.
Yeah.
Right at the right time for that to happen.
Yeah.
And you've been there.
Yeah, I have.
Still continue to be.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. Actually, it happened to me. I didn't really look for it. It just sort of,
Well, because you were doing things.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't discount that.
I was
you had to do
much
some work.
more receptive to it, I think. That's what happened.
Now, going forward, have you worked with anybody else? Have you worked with a sponsee or anything like that?
Not yet. I don't. I'm still,
He's practicing, actually.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit with my sponsor, but I just don't feel ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that, lingering insinsecurity.
Yeah. Well, I've got to be honest with you. I've never felt ready.
Right.
I've always felt like, I don't know if I can help this guy. I mean, I think it's because I see my own vulnerabilities and my own mistakes all the time. But I always fall back on this. All I have to do is share my experience, strength, and hope, and do what my sponsor did with me. That's all I have to do.
That's it.
And I keep falling back on that and go, okay, so what did my sponsor do with me? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep in touch with the guy, meet him at meetings. I'm going to talk to him after the meeting. I'm going to get together with him and go through the steps.
Yeah.
I'm going to hook him up with other people, get him in the fellowship. That's all I can really do. And then it's not up to me. And I've had many people die that I've sponsored, and I've had people that I've sponsored go back out. So I know it's not up to me.
No.
It's just up to me to do what my sponsor did for me, and then
guide him.
Yeah. Just be an example. And what's going to happen is going to happen.
I think one of the things that really helped me with my sponsor was the fact that he was a book thumper.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take that as an insult, but I think, sobriety is a function of not only just giving up drinking, but following the steps. And if you're not, in my opinion, if you're not doing step work, you're kind of missing out.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, it's like I'm going to be a carpenter, but I'm just going to show up when the jobs are. I'm not going to do anything on the outside. I'm not going to, I'm not going to learn anything new.
Right,
I'm just going to hammer nails in.
Yeah.
So you got to learn that you have to learn like the craft of sobriety, and it's in the book.
Yeah.
And I know Brett is very big on reading the big book with people. My sponsor was just like, you read the big book, and then we would talk about it. And then when we did the stops, we would use the 12 and 12, and we would read each stop and go through the stop, and I would do it, and we'd come back, we'd talk about it. That's how I got sober.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of ways of doing it, and Brett seems to have great results with it.
Yeah.
And someday, we've talked about it, someday he's going to go through the big book with me.
Oh, I can't wait. Just because I know the conversations we get into normally, I can't wait. But I'm waiting just the same.
Yeah.
But, there's no one exact path, like Mark said. There just isn't. That was just my experience. I did not, I had an idea of what I did when I did my steps the first time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until somebody read through the big book with me that I did them again, and that's when it really nailed me. Like, really nailed me.
Yeah.
And I attributed that to why I never went back out, to be honest with you, because I was that changed. But there are multiple ways. Many people have success, but as long as you have the principles, you got the general ideas. So, and you did a great job with that, I will say.
Thank you.
That's an amazing thing as a sponsor to have.
Right, and I will tell you this too, that when you do it with somebody else, it's a whole new experience. It'll be like, oh my God, I thought I did this before, but now that I'm doing it with somebody else, I see how much I didn't do.
Yeah.
Right.
And every time I go through stuff with somebody, stuff that I've read a million times has new meaning, or I see something else I didn't see, or
it's like watching Harry Potter movies, and I'm a big fan for whatever reason. Every time I watch the same movie over and over again, I pick up new things.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's
That's a
kinda
great
like
way
that.
to
those
put it.
nuanced
Probably a
things.
stupid analogy, but I mean, it's
Oh, there's that self-confidence again coming out. Just
bursting.
It's a great analogy.
bursting.
What happened if you said, you know what, you're right, that was stupid?
Then you'd be hurt.
No, then you'd be like, who the fuck are you? only I can call me stupid.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Dave, we appreciate you coming in. We're at
this was
about the
fun.
end of our time, but great fun, good conversation. And until next time on the Glum Lot Podcast, I'm Mark.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Dave. Thank you.
As we wrap up another episode of the Glum Lot Podcast, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in today. Navigating the path to recovery from alcohol and other substances is a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and self-discovery. Remember, we're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're here to provide a safe space for open conversations about the complexities of recovery. Your stories, courage, and resilience inspire us and our listeners alike. If you or someone you know is on the transformative journey, know that you're not alone. Join us next time as we continue to explore the diverse facets of recovery. Until then, stay strong, stay connected, and remember that each day is a step towards a brighter, sober tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the Glum Lot community.